It reads, I am very conflicted between two spiritual teachings. One, we are creators of our lives. And two, we need to let go and let God. Can you please offer your wisdom regarding this paradox?
Great question. So for me, those two things actually aren't in conflict for me. Those two things go together. So what I mean by that is, we're creating our own life. So for example, as a creator, someone who has created things all my life, and also as a spiritual creator like you who has started to really go deep with the metaphysics and how we create our lives, both things are true. And often it is a spark of intention that allows the universe to bring in the things that we might need, that we might surrender to. So I'll give you an example. Let's say I decide this year I'm going to create really wonderful new friendships and relationships in my life. And I write that down on a piece of paper, stick it on my wall. I'm kind of lighting the touch paper. Now, what would be really good for me to take care of this year would be paying attention to my existing relationships and seeing where I'm not being fully myself in those relationships or not giving of myself in the best way I could. Seeing where perhaps there might be other people in my life where I'm like, oh, I don't know if this person fully sees me, and making adjustments to my existing relationships and entering into new friendships differently. Like perhaps in the past, I was always too quick to want to gel with people. So my learning is, okay, because I gelled very quickly with a few people and didn't go great, I'm gonna look at this a little differently. So there is a level of analysis or science, if you like, that I'm gonna have to apply. But equally, I have set this intention, so now I have to surrender to who comes my way. So perhaps someone comes into my life and I'm suddenly put with this person, and perhaps they're very different to anyone I've ever been with before or been a friend of. Or if you'd asked me, well, how would you feel about this XYZ person? I would go, well, I don't know if we would get on. But lo and behold, my intention has made the universe bring this person into my life. Will I surrender to exploring the friendship enough to see? So, then I'm like, oh, wow, actually, you would think we wouldn't have that much in common, but this is one of my closest friends all these years later. So I think it's both, and I don't think they have to. I don't think they have to be separate. But I also think as you go through stages of your way of living, way of being, your awakening, there are different times that call for different moments. There are times it's really good that you get creational and intentional and direct. And then there are times where it's really good to surrender and go, I'm just going to surrender to whoever comes along. But the thing about surrender is usually for us to be living in a fully surrendered way with no real will, we've either reached an incredibly high state that we are maintaining, and or we have good boundaries for things or people or places that might be harmful to us. We've developed how to recognize that the thing that we are surrendering to over and over again actually isn't very good for us. So I don't think they are separate, but I think it's good to consider both. And usually in my experience of creating everything, it might be my intention or will, or I say my intention or will, something that comes through me that goes, oh yeah, I'm going to start moving in that direction. But when I start moving in that direction, if I stay open, it's amazing what comes in that I hadn't intended for or seen. But when it comes in, it feels like it, you kind of, as a creator, you learn that over and over again. If you hold the vision for what you're creating and you stay open, magic will happen. And I think magic is an energy we have to surrender to, because we have to surrender to seeing it, feeling it, allowing it in. So I think for you, because you're saying you've got conflict, it might be really interesting for you to try living intentionally for a day, and then try living completely surrendered to what happens for a day, and see which one you notice you're better at. You might go, wow, I'm much better at just being surrendered than I am at being intentional and creating. And the question I would ask you then is, well, great. Does that mean you want to surrender fully in your life and that's your happiest, most fruitful way of being? Or is it revealing to you that there's a part of you that thinks you aren't allowed to create, you don't deserve to create, no one ever empowered you to choose the things you want, so now you don't know how to do it? Good to ask questions about both of those states, because they're catching your attention for a reason. But I would say you can have happiness with both in your life. So for you to see which is it for you personally at this moment in your life, and which one do you want to develop your relationship with? Hi, you've been watching an extract from one of my monthly broadcasts for our portal community, the Energy Tune-Up. Every month I do them for 90 minutes, and I also take questions both from my own vantage point as an energy intuitive, and then I channel my guides, the Z's, and they interact with the questions in our community. Thanks for tuning in.